Didi, got to let you know a quick word from FanDuel. Today, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for the bold predictions and preseason hunches. Just for 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Now hey, I got this confirmed. Aditi said I'm her favorite of everybody here at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Go ahead and cook, Aditi. Go ahead and cook that.
How could you?
I think words are being put in my mouth. Not that I don't love you, my friend, but I feel like you're setting me up to get in trouble before we can even start.
No trouble. I'm lead producer. You won't get in trouble today. Mike is out there. No trouble to be had today.
Aditi, Mary Kay just reported that the Browns, she said they're keeping 5 undrafted free agents, but she wasn't including Isaiah Bond, who's an undrafted free agent too. So I know we got a long way before the season starts. They'll probably add some. But as of now, 6 undrafted free agents are going to make this Browns roster. That's a lot.
Well, so Donovan McMillan is a guy that Pitt head coach Pat Narduzzi said to me a few weeks ago, and I said this on our broadcast, he felt was the free agent steal of the entire year. McMillan is a guy that had a lot of tackles at Pitt. He's a tremendous communicator. He played in a pro-style defense. You see that long series of Pitt DBs that are in the league, Damar Hamlin, Damari Mathis, Dane Jackson. So that's not that surprising. Gage Larvin, has had an absolutely tremendous camp. That's part of the Deontay Johnson move, because Deontay Johnson, I will say, I've been told by coaches and front office, has been a tremendous teammate, has come with the right attitude, has approached everything exactly as they wanted him to, exactly as he did his first few years in Pittsburgh and not last year. But when you look at that wide receiver room, the Browns obviously like Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash, now Bond, and Gage Larvin. I'm leaving somebody out too. Who am I leaving out? Anyway, they like those guys. Okay, Jeudy, Tillman, Jamari Thrash, Bond, and Gage Larvin. And so Deontay was a guy who would play in a very spot role, and my understanding is they had a frank conversation and said, you won't be a featured part of this offense. You won't be a number 2 or number 3 receiver. Do you want to try something else? Do you want to see if there's a bigger, better role out there? And Deontay said, yes, and I do appreciate that. So part of that is Gage Larvin pushing him, right? So that's that spot. And then tell me the others. Who else are we talking about?
The other guy, rookies expected, the other undrafted.
Aiden Huntington, Gage Larvin, McMillan,
Dom Jones,
and
Easton Macarenas Arnold.
Easton Macarenas.
So Aiden Huntington, Kevin Stefanski went out of his way to tell us before this last game that he loves this young man's style. He's a tweener out of Tulane, 6'1", maybe not big enough to be a huge defensive lineman on this in regular play on this level, but Stefanski has always liked to use DLs, OLs as fullback. He was going to try him out. He said part of it is to see how can he do the mental gymnastics of going from defense to offense to special teams, and he clearly handled it tremendously well in that game. If you were watching that entire game to the end, which I imagine Browns fans were, then you saw that. So that's another great story. These are great stories. I love undrafted free agent stories. I really do.
Well, Aditi, we want to talk to you about a story that you tried to sell us about Kenneth Pickett.
Yeah.
Obviously, you said that,
it's a rough day for Aditi.
Will you be quiet?
No, you know what? You know what? You guys know this better than anybody. There's a lot of luck involved in the game of football. Part of the luck is staying healthy, right? So in the spring, the Browns gave Kenny Pickett the majority of first-team reps. When training camp opened, the Browns gave Kenny Pickett the majority of first-team reps. Even once he hurt that hamstring a week in, on 7-on-7s, they were still giving him first-team reps. They really were not doing any of this for show. There was, for all intents and purposes, when they signed him, when they traded for him, which remember was even before they signed Joe Flacco and certainly before they drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks, there was a hope and an expectation that he could be their guy, that he could show that he is indeed like a Sam Darnold, a guy who goes someplace else where he settles in with a good offense and a good structure and can show what he can do. And I'll share this. Kevin Stefanski told us last week in our production meeting, you can't say enough good things about Pickett. He has done what has been asked of him. He's a great teammate. I witnessed it every single week on that sideline, the way that he sat next to the quarterbacks with the tablet. Week 2, when Tommy Rees was up in the booth, it was Kenny Pickett sitting next to Dillon Gabriel. He did it again with Shedeur Sanders, but he's not healthy. They didn't get an opportunity to see him in live game action at all. And as much as Andrew Berry had said he would keep 4, if you could get exactly what you gave up for him, and you have this amount of confidence in Dillon Gabriel, which they clearly do, especially after this last week, then you've essentially lost nothing but Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who currently is not on a roster.
You mentioned Dillon Gabriel,
but it's sad. It's let me just say this, Mikey. On a personal level, of course, I feel sad. I feel sorry, but this is not a case of someone not being good enough. This is a guy who got hurt. He got hurt, and he couldn't show them what he could do. And while he was hurt, he got Wally pipped. It happens. It happens.
You mentioned Dillon Gabriel, Aditi, and between his game against Philadelphia, his game against LA, your pre-production meetings with the entire coaching staff, and I'm not sure how much you've talked to Dillon Gabriel outside of that mid-game interview that went super viral, which for not good reasons. I'm just curious, what's your overall takeaway from spending 3 weeks around the Browns and getting to know Dillon Gabriel on a little better level than we all get to know him?
He is so sharp. He does not make a mistake twice. And the way that he absorbs what he is taught, the way that he has grown. Now, this is a young man that not only the Browns, but people all around the National Football League loved in meetings, loved in terms of demeanor and personality, loved in leadership skills. I had a general manager on another team in the NFC tell me that he absolutely loved Gabriel, was one of the best meetings he's ever had. He just wasn't in a market for a quarterback of where he sees Gabriel ultimately ending up. And you can see why personality, demeanor, growth, all of that, why the Browns like him. You can see why the league liked him. But to see it in action over the course of a month, the studiousness, the fact that when he says, I don't want it to be about me, one of the things that he said to us 2 weeks ago is, I understand you keep asking about me, but if I make it about me, then it's not about my left tackle. If it's about me, then it's not about my running back. How is that a team? And he's really embodied that. In fact, post-game, I talked to him and I said, well, that outing went about as well as you could have scripted it. What are you most proud of? And he immediately starts talking about the team. And the team did this and the team did that. And I actually said in the second question to him, I said, okay, Dillon, I know you hate when I ask you about you, but you personally, what is the biggest area of growth from the start of training camp to right now? So he's very sincere in what he's saying. He's certainly shown great ability to go through progressions, make smart decisions. He made a not smart decision in the game against Philly, but he learned from it immediately, and I don't think you'll ever see him do that again, force a ball when the play has been busted. So all of that, I think, is really positive. He's shown an ability to move and throw on the run. Again, he gets the ball out really, really, really quick. All of those things matter. So I guess that's where the Browns are going. They're rolling their dice and saying, we like our 40-year-old quarterback who is so good for so many reasons, and if we need a backup, we feel comfortable with Dillon Gabriel being the backup.
Aditi, that leads me to my point to ask you about the 2-minute drive with Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, he was struggling in that game. He was powering up to go in there and win for the 2-minute drive, and Kevin decided to pull him. What did you think of that decision?
Let me ask you a question. Why are you saying that he was powering up to go in for that drive?
Because in his interview, they asked him about it, and he said he was powering up to get ready to go back in there. He didn't know he was pulled. That's what he said. It's his words, not mine.
You know, this is really hard for me, and I'll be very honest. Shedeur Sanders is a really, really nice young man. He's a very likable young man. He is certainly trying. I've seen growth from him. You go to the first game where he came off for a first drive and didn't necessarily know he was supposed to go sit on the bench next to Tommy Rees, who that game was down on the field, and look at the tablet, to this third game. After every drive, he's immediately asking, where's the tablet? Where's the tablet? He's sitting down, like I said, next to Pickett, going over things. As someone who was standing on the sideline, Shedeur Sanders' demeanor was not what it was in that first outing. And from what I observed, what I saw firsthand, I feel very, very strongly that the coaching staff made a decision to protect Shadur, who was maybe not as totally locked in as he had been earlier in the game. And there were a few things that happened on the sideline that would make a staff feel that way. I can tell you that there was absolutely no plan for Tyler Huntley to go in on the final 2-minute drill or to even go in the game at all. And sometimes things happen, and that's part of the maturation and growth of any young player. And I keep saying this, guys. This is a young man. This is a young man who has been with his father for his entire football career. He is on a new stage that is a difficult acclimation for anybody. He is not the number 1 overall pick. There is a reason that he was selected where he was. There is a reason that he very honestly talks about how he needs to grow, how he needs to develop. This is all part of it. But I will say that the slander that we are seeing towards this coaching staff really, really frustrates me, because I don't believe that the full picture and all of the information is at the hands of the people that are accusing Kevin Stefanski of malpractice or short-circuiting a young man's career. I can tell you that as someone who's been at practice, who has watched how they're doing things, it is not easy to develop 2 rookie quarterbacks simultaneously, and they have done a tremendous job of trying to do so.
All right, there's a lot to unpack for what you just said there. Obviously, you're being very careful with your words. I get it. I don't want to put you in a tough spot. Is there anything more you can give us about what happened, what may have happened on the sideline, or is there nothing else you could say at this point?
I think that everybody deals with adversity in different ways. And in the first game that we saw Shadur, there was a little bit of initial adversity, and his poise was great, his demeanor was great, and he was locked in. In this game, there was a lot of adversity. And again, this has nothing to do with play calls. There's no play call that calls for a 23-yard sack. You know, like, and there are numbers out there that show there was a lot of time to throw. This is, again, part of the evolution of any young quarterback, of anybody who's young in any profession. My goodness, go back to my reporter tape from my first year on television. It's awful. This is all part of growth. And sometimes I handle a bad hit great. I do a bad job and I have short-term memory, and the next one I nail. Sometimes I have a bad hit and I get in my head. And this was just a situation where bad was heaping on top of bad, and the good wasn't coming. And I fully expect Shedeur Sanders to grow from that and respond and react differently. You mentioned DeAndre Carter. DeAndre Carter is an excellent teammate. DeAndre Carter
That's
is
my boy.
a young man that I have watched repeatedly. Well, when you have young players who don't necessarily know how to handle moments that they've never been in before, or young players who get down on themselves, and this is another reason that I'm very wary of this. I feel very sincerely that Shedeur Sanders wants the best out of himself. And I do feel very sincerely that he holds himself to a high standard. We had a very interesting, fascinating, difficult parent-child type conversation after that first game when he wasn't necessarily as pleased with himself as he could have been. And I actually said to him, look, this is the first time that you've gone in there. You managed the huddle. You handled the play calls. Your demeanor was good. You responded well after a few tough throws. You got more settled in. He's always going to hold himself to a tough standard. And DeAndre Carter, to come back to him, is a young man that I watched really try to encourage and help Shadur manage the emotional part of the game all 3 weeks. He spent a lot of time next to him. He's a good teammate. I'd say that. And I would just, again, Adam,
Yeah.
I know you want more.
No, I'm not gonna. No.
When
Yeah.
I'll just say this: we are
Yeah.
so quick to make hot takes. We are
Yeah.
so quick to, from afar, say, well, this coach did this wrong, or this was out of control, or this was wrong. But sometimes there's a lot more to the story. Even the Browns, even beat writers who are up in a press box, even personnel people who are up in a suite, they don't necessarily see what's happening on the bench. And as someone who has done this for years, every single week there's something like that. Every week.
I get what you're saying. There's no need to follow up on it anymore. What I will say is we have reached a boiling point, if you will, that now sports has become as ugly in a way as politics, right? Where everybody chooses their camp. And no matter what happens, no matter what information you get, no matter what the reality of the situation is, he's my guy. If you say anything about my guy, you hate my guy, and that's it.
I'm smiling because
Yes.
that's literally
Yeah.
how an AFC coach described it to me this week.
Yeah.
This AFC coach was sort of, I'll be honest, there were some takes that just blew
Nuts.
my mind.
Yeah,
that
nuts.
were out there
From
And I
legitimate
actually
media
forwarded
members
them.
that were insane.
Well,
The media members.
I actually forwarded them to a coach who was very, very helpful to me.
Yeah.
And I said, am I the one that's completely wrong? Am I totally off base? Do I not know football as I think I know football? And he actually said, this is exactly like certain political candidates or certain
Yes.
Government officials.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what the tape shows, what
Doesn't
the game
matter.
film show, what the data shows, what the time to throw is, what the cameras show or not. If this is your person, this is your person. And if you don't like that person, if you don't like somebody else, then nothing's going to change your mind. I think that that's where we are. And what's sad, I'll tell you this, I'm cutting you off again, but I was very, very frustrated. You guys all know me so well that I hate when I think misinformation is out there. And my husband said to me, he said, it's not your job to defend Kevin Stefanski. And I said, whoa, this isn't about defending Kevin Stefanski. This is about speaking the truth. This is about defending the truth. And my husband said to me, yeah, and where's that getting you? And he's right.
And the truth, people don't care.
That's what I said. Nobody cares. Nobody care about the truth.
People do not care about the truth anymore, which is why you have just crazy stuff out there. I thought your answers there were amazing, and I think everybody understands kind of what.
We
what
all
happened
get it
there.
because we all in the same boat with you.
But I'll say,
just wait. Something will be clipped by Mikey, and I'm sure.
I'm not here today, Jay. I'm not here today.
Oh yeah, that's what the thing is. in this space, like, you have to be very careful what you say because people are going to look at every word and try to critique. And it's like,
No,
like,
they
dude,
don't.
Like, what's wrong with y'all?
They don't look at every word.
Every word.
They don't.
If
Aditi's
they
right.
looked at every word,
They don't.
I would be fine with it. They're
I
not.
agree.
No,
looking
no,
at
no,
every
because
word.
you know
the
why, Aditi?
aggregators are taking one little sentence fragment and saying to you, in this sentence fragment, this was said. Forget all of the context that came before it and all of the context that came after it. Just ask Dillon Gabriel. He knows about it.
In that case, you're right. In the Dillon Gabriel case, which was absurd, you're right. In this case, even people that heard every word you said,
They heard what they wanted to hear.
they're still going to call you a hater, and it doesn't matter. They're going to call me a hater, and they're going to call you a hater, and we unfortunately just have to deal with that.
And I could say this a million times.
Yeah.
I really like this young man.
I
This
know,
is
it
a
doesn't
nice
matter.
young man.
It doesn't
This
matter.
young man has charm. It's like when I tell Steelers fans, I own Steelers season tickets. Do you know how much money I spend on those tickets? But sure, they believe I hate the Steelers, so there you go.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
and listen,
matter.
I'm not.
I know.
I was a Kevin Stefanski fan. I have soured on him in the last year. I think he gets a pass too often. But if what I'm reading about what you're saying happened, then major kudos to him because he could take him to some degree could take himself off the hook here by telling what really happened, and he will never do that. So kudos to him for not doing that and saying, you know what, I don't care what people say. Because even me, who understands like preseason is meaningless to fans, we don't really learn anything that's real. I was like, well, why the hell did he take him out? Well, I mean, like, I don't care. It wouldn't have meant anything to me if he had a game-winning drive against guys who were going to be cutting the Rams. But I was like, it didn't make any sense. Well, but now, obviously, I understand to some degree what happened, and it does make sense. And it was a teaching moment, probably, for both Kevin Stefanski and the team.
And
yeah,
sure, but that's also where we are, Adam, right?
Yeah.
You know, as much as you may personally like the way Kevin Stefanski goes about leading this team, you cannot deny that he is a smart man. He is a smart man. He's a 2-time coach of the year. He has managed a whole series of bizarre circumstances from Baker Mayfield to Odell Beckham to Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett to everything that's come his way, okay? You cannot doubt that he is trying to develop players and he is trying to do the best he can. And when you think about that first game that Shedeur Sanders started and the way he was very obviously set up to succeed, not a lot of pre-snap motions, not a lot of crazy checks, not a lot of complicated offense, throws that definitely were in his wheelhouse, the things that they did to help him build some confidence. Why? And knowing that the Browns were never going to cut a draft pick. They're not going to cut a rookie draft pick. Why would he ever sabotage one of his own players?
It makes no sense.
Zero.
Fans
so whether you know any context or not, just that alone.
It makes no sense. And fans is one thing, but legitimate media members throwing out these things is just nuts. But we've seen it now with politicians, and I can't be surprised by anything at this point. We got to go, Aditi. We'll talk to you soon. And
thanks for having me.
Forget the haters, Aditi.
Where are you for the first game of the year? Do you know yet?
Well, I'll see my old friend Kenny Pickett. I've got the Raiders at the Patriots.
Okay,
and
very
your
good.
Old friend Mike Vrabel.
There it
Pete
is.
Carroll going back to New England. Mike Vrabel debuting with his old franchise. Josh McDaniels facing the club that fired him. A lot of good storylines.
Ashton Genty, maybe getting 200 yards. That's what I'm looking at. All right, we'll see you later, Aditi.
I'm out here, Aditi. I'm not clicking anything today.
Bye.